What are the benefits of creating a new Android ROM? I mean, what does it allow you to do?
It allows you to customize the experience that you want with your device, right? So basically, the Android that you get out of the AOSP of Android open source project is just the vanilla Android. It doesn't it doesn't fit anyone's needs, as a matter of fact. You cannot go out there and find a device that runs vanilla Android. So every Android device has been customized in one way, shape, or form. So that's what that's something that Android allows you to do, and that's a big benefit. Being open allows you to basically have that custom experience.
And it's a clean slate, right?
You start with a clean slate, that's correct, yes.
So beyond just doing it for the sake of doing it, I mean, what are the broader applications that you see there?
So basically, Android customization has a very wide sort of spectrum of things, right? So at one extreme of the spectrum, it could be just cosmetic changes, right? So it would be sort of like changing the default settings, like the bookmarks or the background wallpapers or the set of applications. Carriers would typically do that. They would throw in some bloatware, things of that nature. So that's one extreme. The other extreme of customization would be putting Android in devices that don't even look like a phone. So anything from tractors to satellites to home automation, security systems, photocopiers, things of that nature. So the end user may not even know that they're dealing with an Android operating system running on some different type of hardware. And somewhere in between those two extremes, you sort of have the customizations that typically OEMs are doing, manufacturers, right? So HTC, Motorola, Samsung, even DoD, for example, basically customizing Android that was designed for a mobile experience and taking it into applications such as the battlefield, the emergency response services, or simply better consumer experience.
So it's the foundation to just build on for virtually anything, right?
That's pretty much it.
We need more Android tractors. I think we
Yes.
definitely need that. So once you have a ROM, though, does that give you, and I think I know the answer to this based off what you were just saying, but does that give you a platform for custom apps, libraries, that type of thing?
That's correct, yeah. So basically it's a full-fledged operating system, right? So you can customize everything from the kernel itself to device drivers if you're running on some fancy different hardware platform, to the native libraries, native daemons, to system services, frameworks, and finally apps and the cosmetic stuff that goes at the very top of the stack. So yes.
Okay. So last question for you, and we've chatted a number of times over the years. Always interested in finding out what you're looking at in the Android ecosystem. What are the things you're really paying attention to?
Right, and you always keep asking that
always
question.
ask the big one, right?
And it's a very fun question. So last year we predicted that Android is going to enter your house, right? That it's going to become a centerpiece of your house, and that sort of materialized itself, right? So today in my house, and which is I consider a very typical home, I have about 4 or 5 distinct devices, everything from a smartphone to a tablet that I use in the living room, to a TV, to even the sound system now, right, with the Nexus Cube. So that's just the living room. I think what needs to be smarter next is my kitchen, my cars, things of that nature. And then there's the workspace, right, your office. So I predict that Android is going to be entering those sort of ecosystems, those markets in a big way, because I think it's a breeding ground for innovation, and that's sort of next in the computing world. And you and I briefly also talked a little bit about the wearable computing. I think that's also something that's very exciting. Computers are becoming smaller, and we're going to have them integrated as part of our everyday life in more ways than one. So that's something that I see Android participating in a big way.
Now, one thing with that, though, we may not even view that as Android, right? It'll be driven by Android, but it's not like we're going to have the little robot on everything.
That's correct, yes. So it started as a basically the vision for Android was to create a mobile platform that's going to run on many, many different devices. It doesn't necessarily mean a smartphone. So what we are seeing is that this mobile platform is becoming both very small and very large, in a case of a tractor, for example, right? And it's basically Android often doesn't take even a shape of a mobile device as we know it in a phone form factor. So, yeah.
Great. Well, next year I'll expect to hear more about the Android tractor when I ask you the same question.
Sounds great.
Great. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Mike.